Okay, last time we had a little bit of an intro to percentage, what a percent actually means, how it means out of 100 essentially, and what it's good for, generally comparing things. That's a good place to use percent. So today we are going to look at converting percentages to some of the other systems of numbers that we use, namely decimals. So to do that, we are actually going to start with percent as a fraction. So remember last time we looked at percent, and one way to think about it was a fraction with a denominator of 100. And a couple days before that, we were able to convert between fractions and decimals and then go back from decimal to fraction. We could go either way there. This is going to be the basis of our conversion here. This is how we're going to look at it, and then once we get an idea of that, we're going to try to get a shortcut in here. But first things first, let's look at a couple examples. So first one, let's start out by converting 37% into a decimal. So let's start it here. We've got a 37%. And we're going to think about this as a fraction with a denominator of 100, and the numerator of this fraction is going to be 37. Because we set a percent, it's the number in the numerator as long as the denominator is 100. But one other thing that we can think of is that a fraction bar is the same as division. So we can say that this is 37 divided by 100, and we can actually figure that out using long division. So we've got 100 into 37, and 100 does not go into 37, so I'm going to add a decimal place and a 0 here, and then up here I'll put a 0, and 100 goes into 370 three times. So 3 times 100 is 300. So that is going to leave us with a remainder of 70. So we haven't quite managed to clean this up yet, so I'm going to add another 0 and bring it down. And then 100 would go into 700 7 times. And 7 times 100 is 700. So this is going to leave us with a remainder of 0. So we can say that 37% in decimal form is equal to 0.37. Okay, let's look at another one here. Let's try converting 61% into decimal form. So we're going to start this out the exact same way. We're going to have a 61%, and I'm going to go ahead and write that as a fraction. So 61 over 100. And from this fraction, we are going to do a little bit of long division. So we want to see how many times 100 divides into 61. And the answer is 0 times, so we're going to add a decimal point, and we're going to go from here. So 100 goes into 610 6 times. So that's going to give us a 600 here, which we will subtract, which leaves us with a remainder of 10, so we're not quite done yet. Add another 0, and we will bring that 0 down. And now 100 goes into 100 one time, with a remainder of 0. So we can say that 61% is the exact same thing as 0.61. Okay, so we've got two here. We had 37% is 0.37, 61% is 0.61. So hopefully, if you didn't already know this before, you're starting to see a little bit of a pattern here. But these two numbers were both relatively prime with the number 100. We didn't have any common factors we could take out. So let's try one where we do, and let's actually reduce the fraction first and then see if our pattern holds. So we're going to convert 25% into decimal form. So we will look at 25%. And we're going to write that the same way we have been, as 25 over 100. But we can reduce this. So go ahead and type into the box, what is the most reduced form of this fraction? Okay, hopefully you saw that 25 divides into both of these numbers. So our most reduced form is 1/4, and that's the number that we're going to use our long division with. So we want to see how many times 4 goes into the number 1. And the answer is 0 times. So we will put a decimal in here and we'll go from here. So 4 goes into 10 twice. And 2 times 4 is 8. With a remainder of 2. So we will go ahead and add another 0 because we still have a remainder. And then we will bring that 0 down, and now 4 goes into 20 5 times. So 5 times 4 is 20. We have a remainder of 0, and we can now say that 25% is equivalent to 0.25. So did the pattern hold? Come up with a rule, just a couple sentences, a phrase or two. What is our rule for converting from percentages to decimals? Okay, did you come up with a rule? What pattern did you notice? We move the decimal. So when converting from a percentage to a decimal, we move the decimal 2 places to the left. So 37 became 0.37 because we moved it twice to the left from where it started. If we go the other way, which we haven't done, but if we were to go the other way, we would move the decimal 2 places to the right. So 0.37 would become 37%. 0.61 becomes 61%. So you need to ask yourself, are we going from percentage to decimal or decimal to percentage? And that will tell you what direction to move the decimal. And if you're unsure, what you can remember is that percentages will always be larger than the equivalent decimal. So a percentage is usually going to be like a whole number, or at least a bigger number, and then that equivalent decimal will be very small. So we're talking about the number 25 compared to the number 0.25. That 0.25 is 100 times smaller than 25. So keep that in mind, and you'll know which way to move the decimal. The percentages, always larger. So practice this today. Ask me questions if you have any, and I will see you in class.